What is up, Eggy Wegg Nation? Welcome back to the 10th episode of Eggy Wegs, the
Hell
big
yeah.
1-0. Can't believe it. For the big milestone, we decided to do a big movie. This was a
Big movie.
Lem's suggestion. The
Yep.
movie is Gone with the Wind, 1939. Um, Very interesting movie. Obviously, as
Very interesting.
obviously,
Yep.
yeah, interesting. Has quite the reputation.
Oh
Very
yeah.
divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it. Uh,
Yeah.
you know what? Call us racist, but we both enjoyed the movie. Um, I personally I personally had some issues with it, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it was a good time. It was an entertaining time.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think, man?
No, and it seems like it's funny because back when it came out, um the people, it was kind of thought as like when like the mild Gone with the Wind opinions were like, wow, this was like really great.
Yeah, yeah,
And a
right.
lot of people were like, this is redefining cinema.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now it's like most people I see talk about it say that it's like either the best film ever made or it's like the most evil film ever made. There's like no in between.
Yeah, this is one of those movies where it's politics are either gonna be like a make or break type of deal for you.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
some people just won't be able to and I get it, especially for me in the first half, it was a bit um
It
hard to stomach
definitely,
at some
yeah.
points. But
The second half is a lot easier to stomach, and I think the second half of the film is better as well. So
yeah, yeah. And like
yeah.
it does have a status for a reason. Like if you look beyond what the movie's goals politically, there's like a bunch of other cool stuff about it and a lot of
Mhm.
impressive shit too. But
Yeah.
yeah.
The comparison I always make is that it's not is that something like Birth of a Nation, for example. That's like a thing where let's compare them to like cakes, all right? But the Birth of a Nation cake, the Birth of a Nation cake is just like rotten from the inside,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whereas Gone with the Wind cake is a delicious cake, but it has some kind of like iffy, kind of out of date like toppings on it. It's
Exactly. Gone with the Wind's
that,
a bit
that
more polite.
if it was taken off the cake, it would be like incredible,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Gone with the Wind's a bit more polite with its racism, you know what I'm saying? And
it's more
if
polite.
it's more polite. If they were both cakes, alright, they'd both be very white, they'd both be very vanilla
Oh yeah,
cakes.
yeah.
But, Gone with the Wind has a bit more flavor to it, you know?
That's funny. I remember watching a YouTube video about Gone with the Wind, and I think there was a quote from a newspaper. I'm pretty sure it was like a black newspaper from the time, which basically said, um, if Birth of a Nation was a front attack on Black Americans, then Gone with the Wind was an attack from behind.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty accurate, honestly.
So, Gone with the Wind is about Scarlett O'Hara, who is a young Southern girl who she's very spoiled and very rich and kind of a psychopath, but her life basically gets upended by the Civil War, and it's kind of just following her on her journey, um like trying to survive in her environment and watching her both grow like a lot but also not at the same time. Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of like romantic melodrama.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's the,
that's
that's the
a
general gist, but like there's a lot that happens in the film because like it is it's over like 3.5 hours.
that's another thing people complain about this movie, and that's, Scarlett and, like, the characters. But I think when it comes to that angle, it's a bit, like, misguided, I guess. I think,
Mm.
a lot of people going into this, at least, like, even I did to an extent, I expected it to be a bit more, like, sentimental and, like, the romance to be a bit more by the numbers, but, like, no, these these characters are, like, fucked up, man.
No,
They're, like,
they're
horrible
so
fucking people.
horrible. They're
Yeah, and
so
they're like that
horrible.
on purpose. They're like that on purpose, but a lot of people think it's just, like, bad writing, but, um, no, I
Oh
disagree.
yeah.
I think, like, the main romance, that's something that pleasantly surprised me and made the movie, like, a lot more,
I f-
interesting and, like,
I feel
unpredictable.
like they're very. I feel like they're very real. The characters do feel like very real.
Yeah, yeah, for
Like
sure.
as much as it is like hammed up because it's from like the late 30s. That's just how acting was in films back then. But
Yeah.
like even though it is hammed up, the characters still do feel like very real to some extent, especially in the way they're written.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
for
but
sure.
back then you just didn't. Back then, most female characters were like, "Oh, I'm a perfect mother, um, and aren't I lovely? Oh, men." Um,
Yeah, right.
and like Scarlett is, a lot of, her motivations are to do with like the men in her life, but at the same time, she's very unique in the way that she uses people to get her own way. She is
She's
very
very
like
yeah, yeah.
self-centered.
Yeah, it's so cool it was so cool to me to see, like, a movie this old with, like, a central female protagonist who's, like, actually has, like, some layers to her and isn't just, like, oh,
Oh
like, a
yeah,
blank slate, I guess. Especially when it came to just, like, not being afraid to make her, like, really opportunistic and, like, kinda kinda greedy and, like,
yeah.
horrible at
And
points.
okay, so obviously like we're gonna spoil the shit out of this, so like but I do like that it's a story like a lot of stories like that, especially back in the 30s, they would have done like a thing where like she would have started out shitty and then like become like by the end
Yeah,
she kind of
she,
learned
like,
her
gets
ways.
worse.
But yeah, she gets better in some ways, but she also gets worse in a lot of other
Yeah,
ways, and it kind of ends with like the man who's kind of, well, I wouldn't say been for her the whole time, but like
yeah, yeah,
the main male character of the film, who it's like, oh, it's obvious, it's from the poster and everything. It's obvious that they're going to end up together by the end, and they
mhm.
do about like two-thirds through the film. But then at the end, he just decides like there's just a bunch of terrible stuff happens, and it's just too much for him, and it's like,
Then he
Scarlett,
leaves
I
to get
can't
milk.
deal. I can't deal with you anymore. Quite
Yeah,
frankly,
yeah.
my dear, I don't give a damn.
He called her, like he said he didn't give a fuck in the nicest way
Yeah,
possible.
fucking awesome line. I love that. Like
Yeah.
like as much as it's like a you know like, as famous as it is, it's still an awesome line.
He is, like, so
Especially it's
charming in
right at
that.
the end of the. He is I. Oh my god, Rep. What's the actor's name? Fuck, Clark Gable. His performance is incredible. He's
Yeah,
like
he's
so.
amazing.
Watching it a second time, because I've watched it. This is my second time watching it. Mass has only watched it once. Second time watching
Yep.
it, it was a lot funnier than I remembered. Specifically to do with Clark Gable's character, Rhett Butler. Rhett Butler
Yeah,
is
yeah.
really funny.
Yeah, he pulls out an amazing,
Mm,
performance. I really fuck with him.
hell yeah. And I know, Mass, you said, I think we talked about it. You said Clark Gable was your favorite performance in the film.
Yeah, it was.
I
Yeah.
think he was incredible, but I have to say, I think like what Vivian Leigh pulled off is like nothing short of like a miracle, in my opinion.
So, yeah, I liked her performance, but, like, I guess I was just, like, more I was paying more attention to, like, the actual character than, like, what she was doing,
Mm,
acting-wise, I guess. But I thought she was good, don't get me wrong,
yeah,
but I just, like, didn't see, like,
I think
one
I
of the
think she
best
just
performances
completely
ever, I
knocks it
guess.
out of the park. If I'm being honest, and like the fact that and like the character is like so complex, and she changes like so much
Yeah, yeah.
throughout the film,
No, I
and it's
imagine it would've been, like, pretty hard to, like, pull off
oh
properly.
yeah. She has, I think, because obviously, she won like Best Actress and like the Oscars and shit.
Yeah.
Um, and I think she has the longest performance for any actor to like win the role, win like an acting role. for the
Oh,
Oscars.
that's cool.
Um, but yeah, and like she has so much screen time in the movie, and it like never lets up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I swear she's like practically in every scene from like beginning
Yeah,
to
yeah.
end. Like at least
There's
with
like a few scenes I can think of, but for the most part, yeah,
like Clark Gable's character, like he's gone for like a significant portion
yeah,
of the movie. He like kind of drops off halfway through and like comes back.
yeah.
But yeah, she's just there the entire time.
So a funny, okay. So I've got a couple facts about like the Oscars stuff for this film. So I guess the less okay, the one I want to get a more serious one I want to get out of the way is that like obviously it was is that okay. So Hattie McDaniel, who played Mammy, she won Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars for that year, which I think is well deserved. She's like great in the movie, um,
Mhm.
and yeah, obviously she was like the first like like black person to like no, the first like person of color in like general to win an acting Oscar, which is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's sick.
Yeah. Um, although she was even then she was like sat at like a different table at the Oscars because it was segregated, which just kind of
Holy
like
shit.
one step
Yeah, it
forward, one step back.
kinda sours it a bit, you know?
It kind of it does and it does as great as it is that she was awarded for like her performance, which was amazing. It does reek a little bit of that whole thing that the Oscars still kind of do sometimes. I think less so now, but like in the past they've done it a lot where it's like, well, let's celebrate how like how great and like diverse we are, and then but
Guys, we're
it's
so
all just a
progressive.
bunch of like old white guys, you know.
Now go sit at the table over there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So fucked.
Um, and I think people were saying that Gone with the Wind should be given like its own special awards because it was like too good to be it was like not fair for it to be nominated for the Oscars,
For fuck's
which I
sake.
find really funny. Oh yeah,
I
it
mean,
is
it
like the
must have been, like, night and day technically when it came to just, like, the actual quality of the film compared to
y-
what else came out that year. I
yeah.
don't know the
I
budget
mean
for this movie, but
to
it
be
must have been
fair,
pretty huge.
thing is, oh yeah, yeah, it was like a hugely expensive film. I think at that point it would have been the most expensive when it was made, but
Holy
um,
fuck.
yeah. To be fair, there'd never been um an American film as long as Gone with the Wind when it was made, and it was like all in color as well, and with all those sets and everything. It would have been like ridiculous. Not to mention, Clark Gable was like at the time he was like one of the biggest like celebrities in Hollywood at the time, so he would have been paid like a shit ton of money.
Yeah, yeah, I imagine.
Vivian Leigh less so because she was more just like a like she wasn't really like a big actress. She was in like smaller like English films.
She was just starting to blow up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Although she wasn't actually in many films, because she was more dedicated to like the theater, which
That's
I
kinda
mean, like,
crazy.
good for
Imagine
her.
one of your first, like, major roles being Gone with the Wind. That's fucking absurd.
Yeah,
That's fucking wild.
no, it's crazy.
It's funny you mentioned that this is, like, one of the first, like, like, one of the longest, American films that were made at the time because, like, you'd think, like, the pacing would be, like, kinda weird because of that,
Mm.
because it's not something people were, like, exactly used to yet, but, like, this is, like, one of the best paced movies I've ever seen, honestly.
Oh, it's incredible. It does not feel like 3.5 hours at all.
Yeah, it just blows
Just
by.
like comparing it to two films that I've seen recently, and I'm not like dogging these films because these are like also like incredible films. But recently, I saw Magnolia for the first time, and I
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
Fanny and Alexander. I know you haven't seen either, Mass,
No, I haven't.
but yeah, like they were incredible films, but they felt their runtimes. They
Yeah,
felt
yeah.
like 3-hour experiences. Gone with the Wind just completely flies by for me, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, because
if
like
it's long, but it doesn't feel like as long as it is.
yeah. like, it's a long movie, but it's not, like, slow pace. It's not like art house, like, slow paced or anything like
Yeah,
that. Like,
yeah,
the pacing is, like, pretty normal, and
yeah.
there's
I
usually,
think
like,
it's pretty
something happening.
fast. I think it's because I guess because I've seen like a few films from 1939 as well. I was
Yeah.
actually gonna mention earlier that 1939 is considered like one of, if not like the best year for movies.
Oh, fuck, okay.
There's like a lot that came out that year, like Wizard of Oz, for example.
Oh, yeah,
But
that's
there's
right.
like a bunch of
Forgot that
stuff
came
that
out that
came
year.
out that year.
Yeah, yeah.
But But yeah, like for films, for like compared to other films coming out at the time, Gone with the Wind is like way like quicker than
Uh-huh.
a lot of them. I guess partly because it has to fit a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Because the book it's based on, from what I've heard, is like huge. Like
Yeah,
it's just
massive.
so long
Yeah, yeah.
from what I've heard. Um, yeah, they had to fit in a lot, but it just flies by like so seamlessly. This is genuinely incredible.
And, of course, there's, like, the intermission in the middle too and a
Yeah.
bunch of other stuff. The beginning has, like, a pretty, long, like, I forget if it's, like a title card, but there is, like, a sort of, like, intermission at the beginning and
Yeah,
then
yeah. I mean,
the intermission in the middle.
a lot of those types of like big movies would be like would have that because they were supposed to be like like big experiences. They
Yeah,
were like
yeah.
this is coming off like theater as well.
Yeah,
Movies
like,
were hadn't been a thing for that long.
it's a little
God,
weird
that's
when you're
crazy.
experiencing it on, like, moviejoy.com, but, like, I imagine
Yeah,
in the context of when it was, like, released, that must have been, like,
yeah,
pretty awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is crazy to think that films like had not been around for that long.
Yeah, no, they hadn't.
Like, I'm not even sure if we were like maybe we were, but in like 1939, I'm not even sure if we were at the point where like films were considered like a true like art form yet. Like that's how early we're talking. I know at least in like the late 20s, there were people who were like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, no, like it's just a bunch of like dumbass stuff." And like people saying, "Oh, it's just poor man's theater." But like maybe I'm not sure by 19, at the very least by the 50s, people were like, okay, yeah, this is like a true art form. But 1939, I'm not sure. Maybe, but
Yeah, yeah. No, cinema it was, like, still in its infancy at that point, so I really,
yeah,
like, wouldn't be surprised. It was,
yeah.
like, fucking
The first Technicolor film came out 3 years before Gone with the Wind. Like it's like
yeah, that's
so
absurd.
early.
Uh-huh. And you told me earlier that, one of the actresses in it is still alive somehow.
Oh no, she died.
Oh, what?
She died 4 years ago. I said
Oh, okay, never mind.
no, she's not
But
Olivia de
still.
Havilland. She plays Melanie.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
she died in 20. It was early 2020.
That's still fucking ridiculous,
But
though.
yeah, she
She
was
lived
over
to
a
see
hundred
COVID,
years
bro,
old.
what the hell?
She was over 100 years old, which is insane.
Jesus Christ. I don't even think I wanna live that long.
Fuck no.
Imagine living to act in Gone with the Wind and to see COVID at the same time.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
incomprehensible, bro.
Imagine so what like brain rot would have been around in 2019? I'm trying to I'm trying to think. Imagine
Dude, she lived to see
imagine
2017. She saw, like,
imagine
Ugandan
being
Knuckles.
like imagine being like in your 20s when like when like Big Chungus was like came out, or like his her 30s. I don't know. Imagine being in your 20s when Big Chungus comes out, and then being alive
He resurrects from the dead
when
like a bad
12-year-olds on
tumor.
the internet start finding him funny.
That'd be so surreal. I might end it all at that point, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
He comes back like a fucking tumor.
especially keep in mind like Clark Gable, he died in like 1960. Vivian Leigh, she died in like the late 60s, I think. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like that's a long like they didn't they didn't die very old. They were like 50s or 60s or something, like 50s, I
No,
think,
no.
which kind of sucks. But like that was like 60 years ago, and Melanie's actress died 4 years ago. That's like so insane
Oh
to
my
me.
god. Yeah, that's fucking wild. She saw, like, somebody touching my spaghetti.
But she also saw it come out as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
God damn.
You wanna talk about, like, the technical aspects of the movie?
Yeah, sure.
Or you have more
Um,
Oscar trivia?
no, not really.
Okay.
Other than like it obviously swept.
Yeah, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Um, although it's funny because as much as it swept, I do feel like it was robbed at the same time because it lost score to Wizard of Oz. And like
Oh, man.
Wizard of Oz has a great score. And they were probably thinking, oh yeah, because it's got like singing in it, and like the songs are great in the Wizard of Oz. But like Gone with the Wind's music is like so incredible.
The musical numbers in The Wizard of Oz, that would, like, count towards the score, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I
I
mean,
mean, I haven't seen The Wizard of Oz, so but, like, the songs in that
I've seen
movie
it a
are
couple
iconic.
times. I mean, Over the
Mm.
Rainbow won like best song, which is
All I
like
know is that
you know,
the music in Gone with the Wind is, like, fucking awesome, so
yeah, yeah, yeah. Technical aspects, it's fucking yeah,
really
it's kind
pretty.
of really pretty. It's like a the movie is like drop dead gorgeous. Honestly, it's one of my favorite looking films ever made.
Yeah, I'd say it's, like, one of the best looking movies ever. It looks
Mm.
fucking amazing. It's so I've
It's
never
just
seen a movie so orange.
oh
It's
yeah,
like Jump the movie. It's,
it's
like, incredible.
like I haven't seen too many like Technicolor films, but from like I've seen like, a lot of like clips and stuff, and like I'd say it's like the best looking Technicolor film that wasn't made by like Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. You know, like the Red Shoes guys.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like excluding the stuff that they made, Gone with the Wind
Yeah,
probably like is the best.
I still don't think it's quite touching the red shoes, but it's, like,
But
it's getting near that level.
that's like the Red Shoes is like debatably best looking movie though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
It's like
so
hardly
it's, like,
fair.
yeah, it's too much to ask.
Yeah,
But, like, the fact it's even, in contention is, like, saying something, in my opinion.
yeah,
It's really good. Dude,
yeah.
that
Not only
shot in the
that,
middle where, like the middle of the movie where, like, it pans out and Scarlett's, like I forget what her exact line is, but it's, like, right
um,
before the intermission, dude.
with God
Dude,
as
I
my witness, I will never go hungry again.
yeah, dude, I was ready to, like, grab my Confederate
Awesome
flag, I
line.
swear to God. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so good.
I was ready to like, I was ready to get out my American flag and like start start the barbecue and like watch Top Gun.
Yeah, exactly.
But now, and I love something I really love. It's gonna sound like really specific. I really love like the specific camera movements in the film. And like maybe this
Yeah,
is just a
yeah.
me thing, but I'm always thinking about how those like early like 3-strip Technicolor cameras, they had 3 strips of film in them at all times. And like they are huge and heavy. And there's this one bit
Yeah.
where it's like kind of where like there's the bit where uh Rhett where Rhett and Scarlett are like dancing, where like Rhett buys her
Yeah, yeah,
the
I
ring
remember.
and they're dancing.
Yeah.
And like the camera's like is like pretty close to them, and it's like perfectly like gliding with them as they dance.
Yeah,
And
those
like
would've been
with that like
hefty ass
heavy
motherfuckers.
camera, that's like incredible. And they're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just certain things it does. Like a lot of the time it's like only moving just to like pan across, because obviously there was no widescreen, so like to pan to some stuff and like show environments and stuff. But there's just certain things, like there's this part where I think it's when like Scarlet enters like the church, which has all of the or like she exits. I think she exits the church, which has all like the dead people, and she like sees something. She sees like a man getting like his leg amputated, and the way like the camera like
Oh, yeah,
slowly
yeah.
moves
I
in on
remember
her
that.
is like
Yeah,
as
yeah.
she like walks up. It's like It's so awesome.
Yeah, it was sick. Yeah, yeah.
And
No,
I
like
specifically love. Oh, sorry, you go.
no, I was just gonna say, like, a lot of the cinematography in this movie is, like, hella impressive.
Yeah, I specifically really love the like the really iconic like first shot of Scarlet, where like she's just sitting there, just completely owning like the men that are like sitting next to her,
Yeah, yeah.
and it kind of just like it like the camera just like pushes forward and like into like a headshot, and she's like fiddle dee, whoa whoa whoa. I really love that shot. It's so awesome. And oh my
That's
god, the
also,
bit
like, a pretty
sorry, I mean,
iconic
okay,
line.
this is the last one I'm gonna fanboy over because there's a lot
Yeah.
of really cool ones. Um, but the bit where you see Clark Gable for the first time, sorry, Rhett Butler, and it's like panning like down the staircase, and he's like sitting there leaning on the fucking staircase. It's so cool.
Dude, that shot was, like, so good that, like, even if, like, you didn't see the poster and didn't know who was, like, starring in the movie, you could just,
You
like,
could
tell that that guy was
immediately
gonna be
tell.
the main guy. Yeah,
If
yeah.
I'm being honest, if I like end up in like a career in films, that whole like thing Gone with the Wind where it like pushes in to show you like who the main character is. I think Scorsese uses it as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good thing.
I imagine it's influenced a lot of filmmakers. But like that like thing is like such a like cool
Yeah, it's
way
so
to just
good.
show who's the main guy without like needing to like
Yeah,
say
yeah.
anything.
I also
And
really
like
like
it
that,
does it effortlessly.
yeah. I also really like that shot where, it's, like, the overhead shot, and it's, like, just showing, like, the massive amounts of, like, bodies,
Oh, yeah.
from overhead. All the, like that's another thing about this movie, there's a lot of impressive, set pieces and also just, like, scope in terms of what they're
The
shooting, like, for that
scale
one
is
scene
ridiculous.
yeah, the scale. Like, I'm pretty sure for that shot, you told me they had to get, like, a bunch of, fake bodies just
Yeah,
because like, they
they
didn't
used a
have
bunch of
enough actors.
mannequins
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they were like because they needed literally, like, hundreds of bodies
And
for
you're
that
not gonna,
shot.
like, hire actors for, like,
Yeah,
that
just to
for things
yeah.
like
I
that.
mean, there were
No one's
some
gonna
real
know, so
people, but, like, there were also a lot of mannequins.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
You can only really notice if you're, like, looking out for them. And even then, it's just
Yeah,
like, "Oh, this body, like, out of, like, 1,000 isn't moving,"
right.
you know?
Yeah, this movie just, like, feels fucking, like, massive in, like, every sense of
Oh,
the
yeah.
word, like, just, like, length and also, like, again, like, scale and scope and what it's trying to achieve and, like, its runtime. It's, like, really impressive.
Yeah. I should also mention that one there's one shot I love. I love how the way there's that like the main part of like their mansion that they have at the end with like the huge
Yeah,
staircase. I love there's that bit where when like Rhett is drunk and like he picks up like Scarlet to like take her upstairs and like rape her basically.
yeah.
Um like the way like everything is like shrouded in darkness as like he picks her up and like takes her up. It's like genuinely like kind of creepy if I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah, so I guess I've been pretty positive so far, I feel. I wanna give this movie its
Oh
credit before I get into the nitpicks, alright?
yeah,
Uh, you know, we kinda, like, briefly touched on this, like, at the beginning of this episode, and I don't wanna, like, go too in depth on it because 'cause I'm not gonna act like I'm some, like, expert in American history, alright?
yeah,
But it doesn't take, like, a history, degree to know that a lot of this stuff I just feel like we kinda have to address this.
yeah.
Um, a
If
lot like,
as
it's not
much
an
as I
accurate
love
portrayal
Gone
of
with the
history.
Wind, as much as
Yeah.
I love Gone with the Wind, I think it's an incredible movie. If you were to ask me, is it racist? I would say, yeah,
Yeah. It's, at points, it's, very racist.
yeah,
Like, we were praising, Mammy earlier, and, like, don't get me wrong, she's, like she's, like, a good character, like, especially compared to,
yeah,
some of the other slave characters in this film.
yeah. She is a
But,
stereotype,
yeah,
though,
needless to say,
unfortunately.
their representation and, like, what they stand for in the movie isn't exactly,
Yeah,
historically accurate or, like, acknowledging a lot of things that probably, like, should have been,
yeah.
acknowledged,
I mean, yeah,
which
the whole idea of like happy slaves is like,
yeah,
it's a Confederate like it's a Confederate like thing where it's like, oh, they weren't so bad to them because
yeah, they
from like
trying to
just
reframe it.
Americans who are either like closet racist or like they don't want to admit that their ancestors were like evil people.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, it's, like, a bit easier to look past with characters like Mammy who are, like they're, like, enjoyable characters, they're
Yeah,
likable.
she's
Mammy's one of the few, like, good-hearted people in,
yeah,
like, the
like
movie.
she's like I'd say she's like an audience surrogate character.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
for sure.
she's debatably like the smartest character like on screen whenever
Yeah,
you know.
definitely. And then there's, like, fucking Prissy, and, like, I know even you,
I
like, didn't like this character, like,
Nah,
at all.
I
Uh,
think the way she's treated is like really disgusting.
yeah, it's horrible. And
Like
I was hoping she wouldn't be in too many but no, she's, like, actually, like, in a lot of scenes,
yeah,
and it kinda is just, like it's just so uncomfortable whenever she's on
it's
screen,
yeah, it's kind of
honestly.
disgusting. Like she's basically only like she only really exists in the movie to be like comic relief and to like
Mhm.
be kind of useless, and it kind of sucks.
They're definitely, like, playing her out as the butt of the joke a
Yeah,
lot of
and
times.
it's done in a way where it's like, oh, look at this stupid like dumb like black
She doesn't
person.
know anything.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
like she just like for no reason lies about being experienced in like helping people give birth. Like she just lies about that. It's not like she's like a deep character or anything. She just lies about that for no reason,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then she's like dilly dallying trying to get the doctor, and then it's like, oh no, I didn't want to go. There's dead bodies.
Yeah.
And then when Scarlet comes back, she's like, "Oh no, I've never helped give birth before." It's like, it's just like
The
kind of
movie is
making
pretty
making her
blatantly just, like,
dumb,
making fun of her.
really, like for like, and it's not funny. It's just
Yeah, it's just weird.
yeah,
And, like, this is the thing, a lot of these, like I've looked at a few Gone with the Wind videos and some, like, SJW lib destroying people in the comments and be like, "Oh, people can't separate the art from its a historical context anymore." It's like, "No, it's not that either."
it's not.
Okay? You
It's
can't
not.
really make that argument for this movie. Like, normally, for me, that's,
It
like,
was
totally
bad
fine.
when it came out.
Yeah, even for, like, the standards at the time, people were like, "What the fuck is this?" Even, like there was even, like, books published at the time that were, like, kinda similar to Gone with the Wind with being, like, Southern epics, but, like, they acknowledged, like, how horrible, like, the South was, and, like, you could argue that Gone with the Wind might be, like, pointing in that direction at some points, but, like, I just don't
I
think it's,
wouldn't
like,
say so.
nearly
Well,
enough,
actually,
personally.
there's one scene where it's kind of implied that like a lot of like the Southerners are kind of like hot-headed and like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean we're gonna lose? How can you say that? Oh, let's go to war. It's gonna be great. And then Rhett the Butler, who's like the smart character, is like, haha,
Yeah.
you guys are
Nope.
stupid.
Yeah,
But
that
like,
was, like, the one part.
other than that, it's like that's like the only scene I can think of, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's very few and far between, and
There's
even,
like
like
there's not really any defending like the flowery text at the beginning that's like talking
yeah,
about
describing it as, like, a
how
fairyland.
yeah,
Yeah.
which unsurprisingly like comes straight from the book, which is written by like a southern woman who was like basing this off like stories her
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that her like veteran like like grandparents would tell her as
Yeah,
like a kid.
obviously.
So yeah,
And,
it's like
like yeah, and like I said, like, generally, it's, like, stupid to bring our, like, modern moral standards to old movies, but this
yeah,
is just one, like we said, like, it's just even for standards back then, it wasn't really holding up, so
yeah.
it's not really you can't really use that defense for it, in my opinion, but
Yeah, it doesn't hold up. There was an award show. I forgot which award show, but but the winner of like best film for 1939 was actually this one film which never would have won like the Oscars. Called I think I think it was Wuthering Heights. I can't remember.
Oh,
But
fuck.
one film actually won at like another big award show because Gone with the Wind was on track to win, and all of the voters for this other film called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which you all know from from the Smithy Will review. Um,
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah,
um,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, where all the voters on that film piled their votes onto, I think it was Wuthering Heights, to get that
Mm.
to win because they were so like anti Gone with the Wind.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild.
Mm. Yeah, like even back then, it was a mess. It was very like contentious.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Even back then, I don't think saying, the Confederacy bad or, like, slavery bad was, like, a very hot take,
Oh
but,
no, no,
you know, shit happens, I guess.
yeah,
I will say though, like I said earlier, like, to me at least, the first half was definitely, like, showing me more red flags, but as it progressed, I feel like
yeah,
the second half is stronger just because it, like, really starts leaning into, like, the dynamics between the characters,
yeah.
and, like, the story was just got a bit more interesting to me. I
The
feel like
first half is like a lot of setup
it's a lot of setup, yeah, and, like,
and like
when
exploring, kind of getting you into like the world, which and
yeah,
considering
yeah,
it's like considering it is like from the PO like the point of view of like a young southern girl um like right before the Civil War, it is going to be like very glamorous and like pretty,
yeah, it's yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
because that's what her lifestyle would have
that's how
been
she
like.
sees it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But once, like I said, like, just that second half when, like, you really see, like, the toxicity of their relationship and everything kinda fall apart, then I was like, "Yeah, that's what I'm fucking talking about.
hell
That's
yeah,
fucking hardcore." Yeah. The first half felt a bit, like, more hollow, I guess, and maybe if I rewatched it, I'd, like, feel differently because like you said, a
yeah,
lot of it is set up, and with context, you can probably, like, appreciate it more, but it was just, like, harder to look past the flaws when, like, the story just, like, felt kinda hollow to me. Like, it wasn't even,
yeah,
like, the flaws ruining it was just, like, okay, I have the flaws, and also, like, the story, like, to me, like, so far hasn't been that great. So, like,
yeah.
I'm just, like, kinda left with, like, that not that
I
much.
feel like a lot of like really long movies that do benefit from like a rewatch. Just like with, cause, especially because like a lot of long movies, they have like a lot to them, and so like with the context
Yeah.
of like how the story plays out,
Yeah, that's true.
it is more. The first half is a bit more interesting watching the second time.
Yeah.
I will say though that I do prefer the second half. I think
Yeah,
it
it
is
really
more
does go
interesting,
off.
especially because for me the best part of the film is the dynamic between Scarlet and Rhett, and that's where you
Yeah.
get most of it. Even though there's a lot
Yeah, for
of
sure.
that in like the first half, and it's really great, but
I will say, I did really enjoy, like, the love triangle, I guess. It was more like a fucking love, like, square between, like, the 4 main people. I
yeah,
guess I kind of found this is, like, very nitpicky, it might be going into, like, CinemaSins territory a bit, but I did feel
okay.
like Ashley was, like, a bit too much of a wet blanket for my taste, especially considering
What do you mean by
how,
like
like
wet blanket? Like,
just, like, not an interesting character. I thought he was, like, boring, like, really
yeah,
boring,
oh yeah,
especially since,
he
like,
is.
Scarlett is, like, so madly, like, in love with him, like, to the point of
Yeah,
obsessing over him for,
I
like, what is it,
mean
like, an
that's
eight-year
I think
time
that's kind
span?
of the point, to be honest. Like
That's, like,
he is
she
kind of born. He's kind of like a just a generic Southern guy who like goes to war, and he's like but like like the kind of the reason why Scarlet wants him so bad is because he's the only man that she can't just get with the snap of her fingers.
Yeah, I guess so. He's, like, very, simped over.
She wants what she can't get, which is why kind of in the end she says like at the very very end of the movie, she is kind of implied that she's gonna try her best to get like Rhett back because
Yeah,
now Rhett is like someone she can't get, and it's like
and like
she kind of just like for someone who like at certain points of the film like has basically everything she could ever want, not really during the middle, but like in like the beginning and like the end, except for like the final bit, but like but like the last third of the film, she kind of has everything she wants. So like
yeah,
the thing she wants the most is what she can't have, really.
and I do get like having him in comparison to like Rhett, who's very like the opposite of that, I guess. Like he's really charismatic and like interesting
Yeah.
and more abrasive, even though he's also like fucked up. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why why we don't really see Ashley, because he's not really supposed to be like a deep character. I think
yeah, I guess
he's
so.
just kind of something for that Scarlet wants. She doesn't because she doesn't have.
Yeah, same thing with like Melanie, I guess. She's also just kind
Yeah,
of like a character who's just like good
yeah, yeah.
and is like there to piss Scarlet off, and like that's it. Do you got anything else to say? How long have we been doing this?
Come with the bruh.
Going with the bruh.
You should call it "Gone with the Bruh." We've been doing about 45 minutes.
Wait, you forgot to say your most important take about the movie. That
What was that?
that at the end of the movie you shouldn't wait. Quite frankly, my dear.
Shut up!
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
At the end, yeah. At
yeah,
the end,
yeah,
instead of
yeah,
saying "quite frankly, my dear," I don't give a damn. He should have stuck his tongue out and gone "Nyeh, nyeh, nyeh, nyeh,
yeah,
nyeh,
yeah, yeah,
nyeh,
yeah,
nyeh,
yeah.
nyeh, nyeh, nyeh."
Then I
You know
would have
that
got
should
the
have
hype.
happened. That would have been awesome. Then it would be a
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Then I would have said, "Good job, Gone with the Wind. You did it."
Yeah, good job.
Okay, I'm glad we got that settled. You want to give our scores now?
Yeah.
All right. So overall thoughts on Gone with the Wind? Pretty entertaining movie. Liked it. Um, I have some problems with it, but I still like enjoyed it. I don't regret watching it. I see like I see why there's so much hate for it, but I also see um why there's a lot of love for it too. Not to be a fence sitter over here, but I think there's an equal amounts of good and bad with this movie. So I'm feeling a light to decent 7.
All right. I'm feeling like a 9 recurring. I like
9
this
to
is
the ninth
it's the
power.
kind of thing that's like it's right up my alley. I can't stop thinking about it. I think it's just incredible in virtually like every aspect. It's like the kind of I'm like kind of obsessed with this movie, but like I can't pretend it's like perfect, you know.
Yeah.
It's like there's some stuff in there I can't defend. Um
Yeah.
but like in every other aspect it's just it's incredible. If it wasn't if it didn't have any of that icky stuff, it would be like a top 20 movie for me, maybe top 15, very high up. It would be one of
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite movies ever. I'd still say it is one of my favorite movies ever. It's just like I don't know. It's like my highest 9 out of 10 I can give. You know.
Yeah, for me, like, that's my problem too, like, at its core, like, for me, there's, like, a pretty obvious, like, gold mine there. It's just, like, covered in, like, poop. Um, very racist poop, which is why
Yeah.
I can't, like, give him more credit, even though
I
I
get it.
enjoy it.
I get it.
So, yeah, that's just my take, but
Yeah.
alright. Eggy Wegg, rolling out.
Bruh.
Quite frankly, my dear, I don't give a bruh.
Quite frankly, my dear, I don't give a shit.